Well, everyone, it's time for us to go ahead and take a look at the Lenovo Legion Go and compare it against the Asus ROG Ally and see which particular device is a better one for you in 2025. Now, I had the beautiful opportunity of being able to go through and play with both of these types of consoles, and they were both very interesting. I learned a lot by going through and messing around with them. And the thing I will definitely tell you is that between both, they're both very, very decent. They're very good handhelds, right? I feel like these types of handhelds are very, very nice to have, but they're also very interesting because one I had a problem with, and the second one I haven't really had too many problems with, but the first one I did have issues with, and I'll explain that throughout this whole entire video. But if you do want to go ahead and buy some handhelds that I would recommend buying this year, links will be down in the description below. You can get that from there, and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, the big thing I can definitely tell you in my personal opinion is looking on the exterior between both, they're both very decent options for the most part, right? They're both very good handhelds. With something like the Lenovo Legion Go, this thing on the front side is a pretty big type of console. It's 8.8 inches. So that right there is a pretty massive type of experience you're going to be getting. And it is actually like a very good looking type of device, right? I'm definitely a big fan of the way this type of console holds up from that particular perspective. And I do like the design of this console a little bit more as well. It looks really nice. It reminds me very much of my Nintendo Switch. And it does actually also give you like these removable type of Joy-Cons that you can go through and kind of use from that side. So you have these removable controllers that you have on the sides of your console. And I am a very big fan of that as well. So that right there, I think is very good. And that in and of itself does kind of make me feel a lot better about owning these types of, handhelds. So that right there, I definitely will tell you is something that's super sick. I love it. And it does kind of aid into the fact of making me like my Legion Go more, but the controllers themselves don't click in perfectly right. And it's not, they're not as great a feeling as I thought they were going to be, in terms of when I saw them in the photos, but it's not that big of a deal either. With the Asus ROG Ally, this one is giving you a 7-inch display. So this one is slightly different, as you can kind of see. So that's going to be one of those things to keep in mind there, right? It's going to be like a slightly different type of console when it kind of comes down to it. But I will also tell you for the most part, if you're going to go through and pick up these types of consoles, right, you're definitely going to be able to go through and buy a console on both that are going to be giving you like a pretty good type of experience, right? I think that right there, it's a good thing to keep in mind. The display itself is also nice on both. You're getting like very high resolution types of displays, which is always nice to have. And also on top of that, there's not really a whole lot of other things to kind of like complain about here. Like it's a good looking console. They're primarily built out of plastic. So it's not like these things are built out of like metal or anything like that, but they still feel pretty good. I think that's kind of a nice thing going on for these consoles as well. So you don't have too many things to really like hate on here for the most part, but I do think it still holds up well for the most part as well. So I will tell you in my personal perspective, when I'm looking at this type of console, I think it does give you a pretty good type of experience on both. I don't think it's necessarily been perfect or anything like that, but I would imagine if you're going to go through and like pick up a console, you're probably going to be getting like a decent type of experience on both. But just keep in mind that when you do look on both, maybe the Legion Go might be better for you because it is giving you kind of like a bigger type of display. It's also giving you 144 hertz, whereas the Asus ROG Ally is giving you 120 hertz, which, could be a thing to keep in mind there. They're both giving you a single USB Type-C port. They're both going to be giving you micro SD card slots on both as well, which is something that's awesome. But here's where things started getting a little complicated. With something like the Asus ROG Ally, when I first bought it and I opened it up, it was so interesting because that console could not power up for me. I let it sit there and I let it charge, but the console actually wouldn't go through and turn on unless I had it plugged in. So this was a brand new console that I bought, which is so crazy because I buy a lot of used stuff. So whenever I buy something new, I always feel happy about it. And the thing is that when I bought it in the brand new market, I took it home. I bought it from Best Buy. I went to open it up and play with it, and it would only work when it's plugged in. I tried to troubleshoot it. I tried to fix it. I've used every single different charger, and nothing is working. So now I have to basically return it. The Legion Go, luckily for me, I didn't have any issues kind of, booting this thing up and using it. So that right there, I think was kind of a nice thing going on there. So I didn't necessarily have to worry about it from that side, but I would probably tell you if you're going to go through and like use that type of console, I'm not saying that every time you buy an Asus ROG Ally, you're going to have this issue, but I personally did have this issue. And that was something very sad for me to kind of have to go through because I was really looking forward to using it. Now with the Legion Go, this thing is, so far so good, not too many issues. It is a very big console, but I was very kind of weirded out by how different the controllers felt. And I felt like plugging in the controllers and taking out the controllers is also a little bit of a process. So it's not as intuitive as something like a Switch 2, for example. With the Asus ROG Ally, I will say there's still a lot of capability behind it, right? It's a more portable type of gaming console. And I feel like that right there is something that's really nice to have. Being able to go through and have this type of console that basically allows you to plug in and plug out your particular controllers is something that's actually very nice. And I do think that right there is something that's really, really nice to have. Because it also has a variable refresh rate, it can kind of save some, battery, so it's not at like the maximum refresh rate 24/7. It's also a little bit more ergonomic. So you can go through and you can have it fit a little bit better like in your hands. It feels just better for some people. And also you do have the dual fan cooling inside of it as well. With the Lenovo Legion Go, this thing is giving you a massive display. It also has a built-in kickstand, so when you are using that massive display, you can go through and drop in that kickstand and use your controller that way. You also have 2 USB-C ports. Did I say it had one? It has 2 USB-C ports, which is actually something that's really, really cool to have. It's also giving you a bigger size battery inside of it, and it also gives you these 2 detachable controllers. So that is probably the biggest selling point for that type of console. Just being able to go through and have that type of controller and having the capability of detaching both of them is something that is so sick to have. And when I look at this type of console and when I look at that type of controller, that is a really cool feature to have inside of it. And I do think that in and of itself makes that type of console stand out so much more. Like imagine being able to go through and having like these Nintendo Switch types of features, but on this type of device. I think it makes this console stand out like crazy, and it really is such an awesome type of advantage to have inside of that type of device when it comes down to it. The performance inside is relatively the same. They're both basically giving you the AMD Ryzen, Z1 Extreme chipset inside. They're both giving you the AMD GPU with 16 gigabytes of RAM. So performance-wise, they're both relatively going to be the same. I would imagine the ROG Ally might be a little bit faster, like slightly, just because it is giving you a smaller display, there's less pixels to push. But I would probably still tell you, from what I can see, the Asus ROG Ally, it is a very good console, right? That thing looks very good, it feels very good, it's a good looking device for the most part. But I just really do wish that particular ROG Ally, I really kind of wish that my console was working when it wasn't plugged in. I feel like that right there is kind of the bigger type of issue that I experience because I am just like one random person. But, imagine if this happened to somebody who wasn't able to return it, right? It's a very random issue to have. I have no idea why it happened, but that did kind of, hurt my opinion on this console when it came down to it. The Lenovo Legion Go was working. Would this be the console I would buy? If everything was working on both, I probably would still stick with a ROG Ally just because that one would kind of give me just a better type of experience. I feel like for me, I want a more portable console, and the removable controllers isn't the biggest deal in the world. And because these things are giving me the same type of performance, I'd rather take a little bit more of a portable console than something that's a little bit bigger, like a, Legion Go. But if you do like the bigger display, then you can go buy a Legion Go and still get a really good experience from it. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.